everybody. Welcome to the BFI. I hope you're all having an absolutely wonderful LFF. I'm Rhianna Dhillon. I'm a film and TV critic, and I'm so delighted to be in conversation with an Academy Award-winning filmmaker who has taken us on so many intimate, emotional journeys with her storytelling, from reservations in South Dakota to exploring new worlds on the Starship Domo. She's here at the London Film Festival with her adaptation of Maggie O'Farrell's Hamnet. It is Chloé Zhao. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
First of all, how was your premiere last night, Hamnet?
If I'm a little slow today, it's because it's very emotional. You know, we finally brought Hamnet home. So we shot it here in the UK, so all the cast crew were there, and as soon as I saw my production designer, my DP, on the red carpet, I started sobbing so hard, and then we had to all go to the side for a while. So it was that kind of night. So yeah. We will be fine, but I might be a little slow.
I think we're all a little slow this morning. It's all good. So the whole point of a screen talk is to look across your entire career and take you back to even before then, the early days. When did you know that your creative outlet needed to be film, or at least one of your main creative outlets needed to be film?
I used to not be able to answer that question because it's a very instinctual thing. It's hard to explain. But now that I'm a bit older and I have some words around it, the best way I can describe it is that I never quite believed that we choose the stories we tell. It always felt like they chose me at a time in my life when I was the right person to do it. And I think a lot of indigenous cultures do have that belief that stories exist. They exist past, present, future. And they're just waiting when a conduit had prepared themselves because of things they had gone through in their own lives, physically, emotionally, psychically. And when they're the right conductor, then the story will come down and it's up or come up. And it's up to you whether you want to answer the call or not. And I find that in my career, when that comes, it's not something that you can stop. Very difficult, because everything around you, another word for it is synchronicity, start to build. And then you go, it feels inevitable. But when I'm not ready and I'm forcing it, what I sometimes find it is a little bit more, it's not that it's right or wrong, but it will become something neither I or the culture are ready or in need for it. You know, so you sort of look at everything I've done in the past and see a pattern. And now I can move forward quite confidently to say I just have to focus on what's in here. And then when that inevitability start to gather, the energy start to gather around me, then I just need to never fight it and just listen and take notes and recognize the patterns and go with that. Because something's bigger, I feel like, than me is making those decisions. And it's nice, because then if it doesn't work, I can blame whatever.
But as such an intuitive filmmaker, obviously the film industry doesn't necessarily work like that.
No.
Things get in the way. You might not get the pictures you want. You may not get the finance you need to make the film. So with all of these potential blocks in the way, how do you still then sort of how do you still carry on being true to the stories that you want to tell?
Well, actually, those things are part of the current. You know, it's sort of going down the river, sometimes faster, sometimes you hit something. So whenever there is a seemingly impossible obstacles, right? If it feels like this can't go on, and then I usually don't fight it. I don't try to crash through it. I wait, and then it's really uncomfortable to sit in that tension. But it is sometimes then you literally feel like you're composting. But usually is that energy builds, then it propels you to an alternative direction. That's actually where you're meant to go. And I have hit a lot of blocks in my career, some really massive ones. And yet, whenever I stop fighting and relax into it, it always takes me to a place later on I look back and go, of course, that's where I should go.
Right.
Yeah.
I know obviously everybody watches films when they grow up, they're inspired by other filmmakers, and so I know you've talked about who some of your inspirations are a lot, but when you look back now over your sort of canon, are there sort of, I don't know, surprise inspirations, things that you hadn't realised that you had been inspired by, or things that had sort of lain dormant that you only realised came out in your filmmaking?
Other filmmakers?
Yeah, or even books, poetry.
I don't know. This is a little slow now. I usually have my prepared answer. Terrence Malick, Wong Kar-wai, Werner Herzog, and yeah, that's my answer.
So your first feature was released only 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh.
With Songs My Brother, right?
Feels like a long time ago.
But what an incredible career. I mean, obviously you were making films before that and you made that film before then, but to have, you know, in 10 years, this incredible, canon. So Songs My Brother taught me, what is your sort of overriding memory now of making that film?
Well, that's one of those blogs that, you know, I started working on that when I was still in film school. That was before the financial crisis. So at that time, you know, you think you're going to make a film and it's going to go to Sundance, and then next thing you know, Focus Feature is going to give you a 3-picture deal. That was the vibe. And then you came out of film school. You're like, oh, the world is ending. No one is, and all those middle-level companies were getting bankrupt left and right, and so and then you know you went to school for drama as well, like dramatic films. Like, oh. Everyone goes, do you have a genre, like elevated genre? So it was a lesson that in school sometimes there was too much of an emphasis on your vision. And I think that's very dangerous. And I've learned in the hard ways. Something had to beat that out of me. Like your vision needs to be flexible. It's never. This is just me, yeah? Stories are told differently. But I wrote a script for 2 years, had a very strong vision of what I think this film is. So everything from the whole economy collapsing to multiple times last minute, the financing of the film fell through, and then to my apartment being robbed and all the hard drives of the stuff I have shot being stolen. Like literally the day after the financing fell through the second time, and you kind of sit in your empty apartment in Bushwick and you go, I think there is a message about my vision. But what came out of that is 2 creative partnerships. My producer and my cinematographer, Molly and Josh, and me decided to stick together and decided to make the film with just $100,000 that we got from Kickstarter. Do you remember Kickstarter? And also Chris Columbus had a fund for student NYU, and a fund that I got from him. We just made the film that way. So my first experience was, here's how much money I have. Here is who I have. Here's a place that I have. Here are the non-actors who are waiting to spend a summer with me. What can we do? What's the story that wants to come through? So that container is actually stronger than my vision because that container is real. And then when that container is strong, that's when the water can come down and start going a bit deeper. So I started applying that to all the films.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look now at a clip from Songs My Brother Taught Me. It's such a lovely clip. It's such a really lovely moment. So it's kind of, this is about like the future hopes and dreams of your characters. So tell us about why you wanted to drill down into that with them. This is about escape. This is about his younger sister who kind of doesn't understand why her older brother wants to escape, but he has these dreams.
The clips are going to get sadder, so I hope you enjoy that. Well, so that's, as you can imagine, that's everyone that is there. That's their classroom, there's a teacher, these animals live in that classroom, and I have taught in that classroom. And everyone is there except Aurelia is an actress from Canada. Everybody else are kids on the Pine Ridge. And so it's an example of, I have to tell a little moment of a dynamic between Aurelia and John. Aurelia being someone who grew up in a home that were very supportive, and she's going to LA, and she want to be a lawyer. And John grew up in a household that he was neglected and left alone at a young age, and he never really thought about what he wants to do, but he wants to follow her to LA, but they're very different. You can tell that this is probably not going to work out. And so that's the only thing I needed to come through. And also on a bigger theme is the film is about a young man having to choose to leave his home that he feels like he doesn't feel comfortable in, but at the same time have a deep connection with as well, in a way that outside people from cities might never understand. So if you have in LA, you have these animals in the classroom, there'll be tons of lawsuits, but these kids every day hold these animals while they take a class about math, and so that already tell the story visually, just seeing the kids with the animals. And then we just go around and let them say what they actually want to do. And this teacher just being himself. And then making sure we had the coverage and this little moment between the two of them.
You kind of, you're facilitating do you think of it as improvisation? Or so you're facilitating this. What do you enjoy so much about coaxing that out of non-actors? Why is that such an important way for you to work?
I like working with non-actors who, so I think Werner said that, for him it wasn't about professional actor or non-professional actor. It is about who can be present in front of the camera at all times. And so you have non-professional actors who will look at camera every 5 seconds. And then you have professional actors who have rehearsed the scene the night before and refuse to change it, even their co-star doing something different. So neither of those I can work with. But you have non-professional actors who, like the kids in this classroom, who can be present. And then also have professional actors who will throw away everything they prepared or their vanity and to be completely present. And that's what I'm looking for.
You really feel like an actor's director, because you seem to work so closely. You seem to be able to experiment a lot, as you say, with non-actors and with actors. So how do the actors off set influence some of your stories?
The actors in this film?
Yeah, in this, the writer, and Nomadland,
How, when they're off set?
When the camera's not rolling, but you're still spending time with them. How does that shape your narrative?
The professional actors.
And the non-actors.
Well, I watch them a lot. And I think, one thing that I find I wish I told my younger self is that whether you read books about psychotherapy or, YouTube videos or talk to a therapist, I understand how your brain works. Our brain are very different. I'm neurodivergent, so my brain, I've always quite confused why I don't fit in, or why is certain things so easy for other people but so hard for me, like small talk. But later on, once I understood it and I can put language around it, I realized that I actually have, like I walk into this room, it's very easy for me to be overstimulated because I take in a lot more information. I'm already assuming what you think of me, what does your outfit mean, you know, where you come from. I do these things all the time, I can't shut it off. But at the same time, I have the ability to recognize patterns, but maybe just a bit faster or more sensitive. And so if that's used in the right space, then I can almost, you know, if I watch someone long enough, I can almost predict if they were put in certain situation, how are they gonna be, because the pattern recognition. And also a very sensitive, extreme sensitivity to dissonance, my brain. So if you're smiling, but you're actually sad, I feel it. And that's why small talk is hard, because I right away go, what's wrong? What happened to you? What's your childhood trauma? And they're like, geez, you know, just want to talk about football. I'm like, yeah, but no, you don't. Which is not always welcoming. I've learned to filter myself. And so, but that's helpful if you are on set and just feeling the dissonance. When there is dissonance, you want to, whether it's actors or non-professional actors, even in off camera, you want to go, what is it? And usually in that kind of setting, they will share, and then you go, okay, what's underneath is actually interesting. It's not what we wrote of this character's moment, but that's where you are right now. So are you willing to take the mask right now and let the world see what's underneath? Not always a yes, especially with professional actors. Understandable, that's why they became actors, so they don't have to, you know, become a documentary subject matter. But if they would in the moment, it's really special, because that's the kind of authenticity I think is performers' greatest gifts to the world. So because when you feel that authenticity, it gives also the audience an opportunity to go, okay, well, maybe I can also lower the mask a little bit in a dark room. So I'm always looking for that.
You mentioned documentary there, and just before we move on to talking about The Rider, which is also about a real-life brother and sister playing a real-life brother and sister, tell us about blurring those lines between reality and fiction. And, I mean, do you ever think about upending genres when you're making your films? People talk about yours being sort of quite real life, but not quite documentary. Tell us about where you see the line between documentary and fiction.
The line? I think the line is really, I keep quoting Werner today. The aesthetic truth? Nick, is that the right word? Is it? Elastic truth. Don't quote me. Something, he's saying that, you know, poetry, the world needs both poetry and facts. Both can represent truth. Actually, sometimes poetry can represent the raw truth of a human condition than facts. And I think that it is something that I'm becoming increasingly more passionate about, is to try to, because I was educated in very much a linear, logos-driven, like reason, rationality, cause and effects-driven type of Platonian type of storytelling. And I think, especially after Hamnet, I'm very passionate about rediscovering and remembering some older way of storytelling that might have been forgotten in our society, alongside with many other things that happened. And the mystics around the world, the mystery schools around the world, before we made everything factual and reasonable, there was a time, you know, we received stories in different ways, from our dreams, from vision quests, from going to nature and listening to the birds. You know, our greatest prophets all went into nature or sat under a tree, right? So the language of ambiguity is, to me, vital for the health of a society. And I think even in Hollywood, in the film industry, we also are not very good at preserving the language of ambiguity. We want to make things as clear and rational as possible. That's, I think, blurring documentary and fiction, finding the right moment to have logos and the right moments to have mystery. That's up to you to do the balancing act. And if logos and mystery are in harmony, we would be living in a much better world. So how do we balance that internally in our inner psyche, but then also in our stories to represent the full spectrum of human experiences is what I'm investigating and humbly investigating and discovering and trying to remember.
Let's look at a clip from The Rider then. This is Brady, who is recovering after a terrible accident in the rodeo ring.
Ah, those boys.
Those boys. So you met them on Songs My Brother Taught Me.
Yeah, on the Pine Ridge Reservation.
Brady taught you how to ride a horse, and
I knew how to ride a horse.
Oh, sorry.
No. Yeah, he taught me some other stuff.
Okay. And then after that, he had this horrific accident.
No.
Was it?
Oh, yeah, yes.
And then,
yes.
off the back of this, you decided to,
Yes.
you wanted to make a film together already, and then you realised this was your route in.
Yeah.
So what opportunity did it give you to explore, because again, like, this is a film where you can pull out so many different themes, but in this clip in particular, masculinity is such an interesting one, and ego. So tell us about the opportunities to explore masculinity in a different way.
I love masculinity. I love everything about it, and I love learning about it, tinkering with it, taking it apart, putting it together, worship it, and get angry at it, all of it. What's your question?
Well, I guess why, that's the why.
Oh, yeah.
But how, unknot it for us a little bit.
Well, masculinity is the masculine is now just gender, yeah. Like let's just be really clear on that. Is I have a masculine side, and you have a feminine side. Man has a feminine side. Woman has a masculine side. The yin and yang. I come from China. I grew up with trying to understand that the universe has two polarizing energies, and it is the tension of these two energies and the penetrative power of these two energies into each other, and that's what gave birth to the universe, to life, and so trying to understand how these two energies coexist. Having become a very devoted student of Carl Jung in recent years, he had advocated the most important thing for him in the world is to end the inner civil war first. That there is this disharmony going on in many of us that we have to figure out how to have it come into harmony first, and then the outside world will reflect the inner world. So I think I have grown up, have loved men, and have been raised by men and been around men, and still are loving men whose feminine side, whose femininity is equally as repressed and destroyed and wounded as women, as the feminine consciousness in our existence. Well, that is very painful for both them and me trying to love them and be loved by them. So I definitely made it a part of my mission to try to understand it for myself, to notice now that I'm not lovable or something wrong with me, but actually they are hurting as well. So part intellectual curiosity, but part wanting to truly know how to love them better and be loved by them better. Yeah.
Because this is on the Pine Ridge Reserve, and then with Nomadland as well, you're going into a community, you're discovering, you're meeting people. That's all part of your kind of research process. When do you know, how immersed do you get in that research process? When do you know when to stop the research and stop filming?
Not that different to your first question. When the synchronicities start to work for you, and Brady and I talked about what film we're gonna make. We tried everything. We had all kinds of ideas. Yeah, but then when he got into the accident, he was a different person. You know, he was like a local rodeo champion and one of the best horse trainers in the area. He just didn't think anything could get to him. You know, the kind of masculinity that want to transcend death. You know, but then that went down. The crash and burn so quick, and then it was beautiful to see the way Brady evolved, and which inspired the ending of the film. That he chose to surrender, is that I saw how his masculinity matured from vulnerability, and how that become a much stronger and more divine type of masculinity that's coming out of him. So I thought that might be pretty good for a film. Let's give it a go. Yeah.
And also, this was a film that you had to finance yourself.
Yes.
Like these kind of massive risks that you take as a filmmaker, where's the payoff for you? Is it, I mean, it doesn't feel like actually financial reward is ever the payoff necessarily. I might be wrong.
Well, I gotta pay bills.
Got to pay bills,
so
but that's
health
like
insurance.
The baseline, right?
You guys don't have that problem here, but we do. Well, this film, to get in the can, only cost $80,000. I know it's still a lot of money, but when it comes to making a film, I know people make short films with more than that. So, no, I actually think money is really important. I am not, my producing partner is in the room, he knows. Like, a lot of time he would say, just don't say that they will give you more money to stop, you know. I was like, yeah, but I hi, Nick. But maybe it's because I'm Chinese, I don't know what it is, but I'm so afraid of owing people money. I don't like it. I don't like being dead. I want the people who put money into the film make their money back. I don't believe that my vision and my whatever importance my film should make people lose money. Not for me. Yeah. So I try really hard to try to get, you know, financiers or studios to say how much you're comfortable giving me, knowing I'm going to be a bit hectic, and that you can survive as a company, please. And then I'll do it within that. So I think it's really helpful because limitations, I promise you, is your best friend, really. Again, the container. Once the limitation is set, we have so much capacity to go very, very deep. And so the worst thing you want to be is as you're making these decisions and your container is just, oh, one day I can go that big, one day I can go this big, and then you're never going to go deep because the water is not going to settle down.
I want to move on to Nomadland. I love this clip that you've chosen.
Oh, yeah.
Can you just tell us a bit about it before we...
There's so many clips I'd love to show in Nomadland, but because since we're going to Shakespeare, I thought, yeah, well, let's pick there's actually 2 Shakespeare references in Nomadland. In one of your earlier questions, you asked about influences I didn't realize I had, and maybe I could put the bard,
Yeah.
the part of that, because I don't know Shakespeare very well, but he keep popping up in my, like he keep I keep working with people who are just, whose lives were changed by William Shakespeare, so they keep bringing it to me. So in this one, I remember in my sort of skeleton script, I had an idea of Fern, Fran's character, meeting a young traveler, because we wanted to include that demographic of travelers, of nomads. And we met Derek in Arizona, and right away we thought, well, this is the kid. And then Fran, Frances McDormand knows a thing or two about William Shakespeare, and then I just said, what is there a sonnet? Is there anything you wanna? I just wanted to hear you do it on screen. And this moment that we discover, wow, she had a past. She was an English teacher, and this is what she came to me with.
Yeah, great. Let's take a look. Thank you. Chloe just said, that's nice. It's beautiful. And of course, the Ophelia moment as well, when Francis is in the water. Is that the other?
Oh, I didn't think that.
Oh, because it's so...
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Gorgeous. You're framing everything.
Yes.
So like both the rider and songs are about sort of younger people. When did you notice a shift? Because I know we just saw a young man there, Derek, but a lot of the characters that Francis is sort of interacting with are older. So did you notice a shift in their outlook on life, and then how did that sort of shape the narrative or shape some of the conversations?
What the sort of a promotional log line for Nomadland, other than "See you down the road," was "What's remembered lives." I just started with Nomadland. This idea of memories became quite important in the work I do, and you see in Eternals in a minute as well. I think, I definitely am not responsible, what's the word? Guilty. I'm also guilty, I think, of under the influence of ageist culture and society that we live in. Until I made Nomadland, starting to understand that I think one of the greatest tragedy in modern society is that we forgot the power of the crone, the power of the grandmothers and grandfathers and elders in society, and that we stopped gathering around them. We stopped going to them to help make decisions of how this tribe should work. And you saw that during the pandemic, how disposable they were. And you see how, particularly for actresses in Hollywood, how the pressure they're under to look a certain way. And Fran has always said, every line on my face tells a story. I can't be the type of actress I want to be if they are not there. Thank God they're there. So I grew tremendously making Nomadland, being around elders, which is something I didn't get to do much growing up.
When we were backstage, when we were listening to the music, and you were just like having a little dance, a little jig, and you say that music is always so kind of vital throughout all of your films, and dancing, and it comes through. We see it time and again in all of your films, but then offset as well. How do you find that as a sort of, I don't know, like a bonding with the people that you're working with?
Max Richter, who is a composer on Hamnet, and I've been a fan of him for a long time. When I met him for the first time, he said, I asked him why music, and he said, when I was a young boy and I see the sun coming through the window, and that feeling of the warmth of the sun, he said, how can I possibly capture that feeling? And then I realized that for me it's only through music, because when you're a little boy standing in the sun, I think what he's saying is that the feeling is that you are somehow one with your surroundings. Like you and the sun, there's no separation, and that kind of oneness, that feeling, that only I think music does best than any other type of, for me, and for Max, I suppose, because he said fundamentally music is vibration. And the things that connect us the most, I imagine, is the vibrating particles that we're made of from the Big Bang. Us, a leaf, this microphone right now have that in common. So if you can look at music like that, and especially playing with the technicality of the music to even get into the subtonic level, then you can get a room of people who, in consciousness, really think they're different, we're different from each other, vibrating on the same frequency. And then that's not something anyone can convince us otherwise. You feel it in your bones. Yeah. And I think Max said he likes one of the theories that music came from, people around the fire in the cave at night beating something really loud to keep the predators away. And that's how music came about. So I love that. I like that too. Yeah.
And I love that scene in Nomadland where Francis's character is sort of just like pulled out, made to dance a little reluctantly, and just the sort of melting away of inhibitions, I suppose. It kind of puts you on a equal footing with the people around you.
Yeah, and the more we do things with our bodies, breathing together, dancing together, listening to music, the more we feel it in our body, the less we feel separated. Because this stuff hasn't changed that much, as much as we're trying to transcend that finally to be immortal. It hasn't happened. So.
Yet. I know nobody, I think, goes out to make a film to win an Oscar, but then looking back now, what was
Really?
Some might assume they'll get one.
If they're honest.
I'm
kidding.
What was it about the story of Nomadland that, if you look back now, what do you think it was that captured so many people's imaginations?
Again, you can't. It's like having a child. You can't really control or even predict what they're going to become, what the world is going to be like by the time they enter. I think the pandemic was what made this film. I'm sure that it resonates in anyways, but I hope. But I think the pandemic added a whole different layer, because this is a film about people who had gone through a personal apocalypse. And by the time this film came out, everyone had gone through a version of that because of the pandemics and lockdown. And then the film is trying to offer something trying to say that actually we might lose everything, but there are things on this planet that's been there, that's free, that is right there. Human beings, nature, and also the simple act of chop wood and carry water every day. Making a peanut butter jelly sandwich, doing laundry, and these little rituals are actually quite sacred. If your life is, if you truly look at each moment making a cup of tea as something as exciting as premiering your film, then why not? Isn't that a life that's bulletproof? I think, I think that these nomads learned that they could have equally a connected and poignant and embodied life and joyful, pleasure-filled life with very little. And we are an amazing species that can adapt really quickly. So I think it offered an alternative look on what we actually need in order to feel happy and connected.
Yeah.
So I think that helped.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the Eternals now, and especially the moment where Angelina Jolie's character is in danger of losing
memory. Yeah. So just a little setup, just in case you haven't seen it. It's in this scene, So the Eternals, they came to Earth 5,000 years ago, and 7,000 years ago, and then they're supposed to stay together as a group. The most important thing for Salma Hayek's character and Richard Madden's character, you see they know something the other characters don't, and it's important for them to keep everybody together. But when they get to this point of history, something happened within this family, this team that begun their journey of separation from each other, which led to later on a possibility for them to disagree on something and have different experiences with human beings for the next 500 years after this scene. So it's a very pivotal scene in the film.
Yeah.
And there's something called Mad Weary. I know the name. You might not be familiar with, if you haven't seen Jack Kirby's comic book, but it is what happens because they are eternal beings who lived some of them millions of years. Even the memory become too heavy, and they will glitch. And the term Jack Kirby gave is Mad Weary.
Brilliant. Thank you. Let's take a look. It's such a beautiful looking film as well, and it must have been so many new things that you learned after the realism on your previous films to then be given so much access to equipment and new technology and CGI. So what excited you the most about that? Were you like a kind of kid in a sweet shop? Was that like what interested you? Was there another way in?
Well, my dream when I was a little girl was to become a manga artist. So I drew Japanese manga religiously every day, and I consumed everything there is at that time. So I have always loved telling stories through fantasy, through genre, and through mythology. So I to be able to play in this world and to have the tools, because I think I was at a moment in my life where there is a lot of stuff that was bubbling inside of me that I wanted. I made 3 films. I traveled around. I met people, and I look at the East and the West. I look at different cultures I encountered. They're just it's like a volcano inside of me that wanted to examine about the human condition so desperately. I'm still sort of working through the eruption of that, and that eruption, it was Eternals, because the container of this was like very typical Greek play, where a pantheon of gods are discussing, a pantheon of gods who have different relationship with human beings, are discussing, debating passionately about what is humanity? Are humanity worth saving and existing? Are we good for the universe? And I just went all out. It was fun.
And we've got to talk about Hamnet, which is, I don't know how many of you went to see it last night, got some nods in the audience, great. It's such a beautiful, devastating, incredible film. It's definitely been my highlight of the FF so far. And tell us first about, you're working with Maggie O'Farrell as a pre-existing story, and what you saw in it that you wanted to bring to life on the screen.
To me, at the core of the book is it is about love, death, and metamorphosis. So, pretty good container, I say. Just travel up and down the tree of life in circles. Make film about that.
And it's quite a literal tree as well.
Yeah.
The tree that you show is unbelievable.
Tribute to Terrence Malick.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's take a look at a clip from Hamnet.
It's less of a tree clip, but let's go.
This is a moment. Let's have a look.
My favorite scene in the film.
Yeah. It's so interesting because it's such an intimate scene, but you used a fixed camera. So tell us about experimenting with the camera techniques to really get under the skin of grief in Hamnet?
I think when you look at a scene, at least for me, I always trying to see like how much pressure can I build in a frame, right? And that the measurement comes from how much polarity there is in your characters, that how much tension is between them, and also as their tension build, how much can you contain without cutting? Something I'm experimenting, because all the world is a stage. Therefore, you can't cut in theater, right? So for me, when I'm an editor as well, I do think when you make a cut, you lose tension. But you also has an element of surprise, what comes next. So you balance it out. In a scene like this, you know what comes next. They're in the room. There's no sudden surprising a clown shows up, right? I know I'm simplifying this, but I think what would benefit us would actually be, especially with the kind of prep work that we've done, the possibility something could, I mean, all the stuff happened here is unplanned.
Really?
I can elaborate on that if you want, but I was just so excited to see if I hold the frame. And when it does explode, there's nowhere to go. So it's just gonna come right at you, at the camera, and you feel that. And so to me, even editing and directing is not intellectual. It's half the time intellectual, but the other half, the decisions are made by what is happening in your own body. So if you sit in front of the monitor, it's really important, whatever it takes, burn some sage, chant, hit your own body, scream, jump around. You gotta be in your body at least half of the time, and to see how your body is reacting. Not just how your mind is reacting. And so that's why I knew it was okay to contain it in a frame.
I do really want to talk to you so much more about it in pretty much every frame in Hamnet, but I also want you guys to have a chance to ask questions.
I grew up in Beijing. I don't remember having a lot of access to theaters or even cinemas. We didn't have a lot of stuff like that. But I watched a lot. I grew up watching Chinese wuxia fantasy TV shows. We have a lot of that. So like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but maybe not as good as that one. So epic storytelling and fantasy has always been in my memories. But the first Western film I've seen was Terminator. I know, it's great. It's the first time. I mean, it was, and then the second one I saw was Ghost.
Oh, amazing.
And then the third one was Sister Act. Because we had one Western film per week every Sunday. It was so exciting to see them. The only film that I storyboarded was Eternals, especially for all the space sequences. And because of my manga skills, I did it all myself. I really enjoyed it, and with big eyes, But I shot list. I built a little map. Here's all the camera angles. Not in my first 3 films, no, because I gave Josh a lot of, my DOP at the time, a lot of freedom. We have he knows how I'm going to edit the film. So and also we didn't have the luxury of have a shot list. We're lucky people showed up, so, and we shot so much of those films during Magic Hour. We call it the Magic Hour hustle. So you just shoot a minimal amount of coverage during that time. But for Hamnet, me and Lukash, we did, and on Eternals, always coming with a shot list. I think it's a superpower. I really do. And it's a spectrum, so everyone is very different. So, I mean, I think we all are on the spectrum of something. Everyone's brain is so different, so unique, nature and nurture combined. And I find that I question sometimes, is neurodivergence, is that I am the not typical one, or is our world has become a little bit too inhabitable for, you know, is this too loud, is it too bright, is it too fast, you know? So I try to not think of it as less different, but think about, okay, so if I tune into how I function, then I'm gonna create a world, not just on camera, but also off camera, that is going to be healthy for me. And those who are gravitate towards me like that about me. So that's probably what they enjoy as well. So I find that if you grow up always feeling that you're the one that's somehow wrong in this space or different and to fit in, it's really important, actually a good service for society, for you to honor what you need first. Truly, truly honor that, because that might be exactly what your environment need as well.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. We've actually run out of time. Chloé Zhao, you've been absolutely incredible. Thank you for your questions. Please give it up for the wonderful Chloé Zhao.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.